Hey guys, today on Watch with Poppy we are talking the pilot episode of the new CW show, The Carrie Diaries. So, this show, originally I will admit that I had really no desire to watch this show, mostly because I didn't watch Sex and the City, so I kind of figured why would I want to watch a prequel to something that I'd never seen? That would be like watching episode 1 of Star Wars and meeting Jar Jar Binks before you watch Star Wars. That would be bad. So I just kind of thought, no, I'm not going to do it. But then I discovered that the show was set in the 80s. And being that I grew up in the 80s, I was hugely enticed by that. So I thought to myself, I'm going to watch the pilot episode just for that alone. And the 80s nostalgia was just awesome. And really the best part of the pilot to me. I went to high school, junior high school in the 80s, and so, the music and the clothes and the Trapper Keepers and just all of the, 80s fantasticness was awesome in this episode. Basically, the show starts with Carrie. You get that she's going back to school after the summer. Her mother's just died. So it's her. She's got a sister who's named Dorrit. And then she's got her dad. So, she's kind of dealing with the whole fact that my mom's dead and they're still in, immense grief, obviously, in their family. And she's headed back to school. You meet her friends, and there's a new guy at school. His name was Sebastian Kid, and if that is not the best 80s name in the world, I don't know what it is. So Sebastian walks in, and everybody is all like, ooh, who's the new kid? And he's all cool and rich, and it reminded me of all those 80s John Hughes movies that I loved. I mean, what girl was not in love with Jake Ryan when she was in high school? I'm still in love with Jake Ryan, people, and if you don't know who Jake Ryan is, you need to go watch 16 Candles. So anyway, back to the Carrie Diaries. I'm sorry if I flash back at any point during this video. Back to the Carrie Diaries. So here comes Sebastian Kid walking in, and all the girls are like, who's he? And he walks right up to Carrie, and it's basically like, hey, Bradshaw. And it turns out that she knows him from the pool. They swim at the same pool or something like that. And then throughout the episode, you get that they have some sort of chemistry going on. They do a flashback where you get that they met at the pool, they hung out, and he kissed her at one point. But that was really kind of it. So you get that this kid is going to be like her kind of, romance, at least for now, in this show. Now, I'll be honest, when I think Sex and the City, I mean, as somebody who never watched it, I think of a group of women sitting around a table, having lunch, talking about sex. And that happened in this episode, which I thought was kind of interesting. So at one point, she's sitting at the lunch table with two of her friends. One of them who she calls Mouse, which I thought was way too cute. And the girls are talking about their summers, and both of her friends have lost their virginity, so they're talking about that. And so it was just like they seriously sat around the table and had a conversation about sex around the cafeteria table, so it was a little kiddie Sex in the City. So one of the stories in the episode is you get that Carrie is dying to go to New York when she gets older, and she's really, dreaming about that. Her dad comes and says, look, we think it might be good for you to kind of get out and have other experiences. I talked to your counselor at school, and what you're going to do is one day a week you're going to go into the city and you're going to intern for a friend of mine who owns a law firm. So Carrie is super excited to get to go into Manhattan, and she's been dreaming about that, and so so she gets to go do that. On her first day, something happens to her. She rips her pantyhose, and so the mean lady at the office basically tells her, look, at lunchtime you need to go buy some more pantyhose. She's off at the store buying some pantyhose when she runs into this lady. And the lady sees this purse that Carrie is carrying. So let's talk about the purse. The purse belonged to Carrie's mom, and she really kind of wanted to carry it with her because she wanted to have a piece of her mom with her. Her and her sister get into this argument because Carrie can't find the purse, and she thinks that her sister Dorrit has the purse. Eventually she finds the purse amongst her sister's things, but what accidentally happened is her sister accidentally spilled some nail polish on the purse. And so she's like, what can I kind of do to make this bad situation into a good situation? So she takes a bunch of nail polish and she flicks it on the purse until she makes it cool. Because let me tell you that paint splashes in the 80s were a hot thing, people, because I was there. And I had mini sweatshirts that were covered in paint splatter, and it just looks really cool. Whatever. So she does this to the purse and she writes her name on it. So when she's in the store buying these pantyhose, this woman sees the purse and is like, oh my gosh, where did you get that purse? And it turns out that this woman works for Interview magazine. So basically Carrie gets invited to this party, and she goes to the party after work even though she's supposed to go home. And she has an amazing time in the city, basically. And she meets all these interesting people. And you just get that she loves New York and she's really excited about being there. She gets home, her sister's missing, there's this whole bazaar about that, and basically you see the family kind of work through their grief a little bit and finally get to the point where the dad allows them to go into the closet and kind of put away mom's things, which is a big step for them as a family. There's a little backstory about how she started writing in this episode, and you get that, you know, her mom used to be a writer, and when they cleaned out the mom's closet, they found these unused journals, and she asked her dad if she could have them, and at the end of the episode, they show her kind of sitting down to start to write in her journal. So that was kind of a cool kind of backstory that you got. Like I said, I really wasn't expecting to watch this show. The only reason I watched is because it was set in the 80s, and it was totally worth it for that reason alone. The music was really the highlight of this episode for me. I mean, all throughout the episode, there was tons of great 80s music, and many times I found myself just like flashing back and just like, God, I loved that song when I was like 13 or whatever. I will say one thing that did annoy me was there were tons of voiceovers. And I know that's a Sex and the City thing. I do know that about Sex and the City. But I felt like there were way too many. Like, I just felt like every 10 seconds there was Carrie doing a voiceover of telling you what she felt at that moment. And it was just kind of like, it was a bit much. I'd say that if you like Sex and the City, you'll probably love this flashback. I'm sure there'll be lots of origin stories for different things that happen in Sex and the City. But like I said again, I didn't watch that show, so I wouldn't get them. Because I'm sure there were things in this episode that I didn't get. I got the writing thing because I remembered that she was a writer, but there was some other things that happened that I thought, that's probably means something, and I should probably understand that, but I don't. But it was good. I'd say watch it, give it a try, you might like it. I gave it a try, but it's not for me, but that's okay, because Lord knows there are many other shows on the CW that I watch. So something tells me the CW will be okay if I sit this one out. Okay guys, thanks so much for checking out this episode of Watch with Poppy. Don't forget to subscribe. I do reviews and recaps of tons of other TV shows throughout the week, so you definitely should check those out. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Bye. The 80s, with all of its big hair and metal bands and old school hip hop, although technically it wasn't old school then, it was just hip hop, and it was awesome. I miss the 80s.